What up? What up? What up? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Bad Podcast. Brad and Dawain right back in here, man. We are actually doing a special episode. We are going live right now inside the Eager to Run private run group, man. If you're not a part of it, please join this free run group. Join our free run group, Eager to Run Club. But right now, we're live inside of that group. And we have a special guest, and we're super excited, Brad. So, Brad, do you have a quote today? I ain't even asked you that,
You
man.
better believe, prep, rep, repeat.
Let's get it, man. What's the quote today, buddy?
A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. And the reason that we're going to talk about a single step and a journey of 1,000 miles is because we have a special guest on today, and it's going to tie into our theme and our guest.
All right, man. One step at a time. Let's get it.
Hey, good job, guys. Good job. Mental battles. Mental battles.
Hey, man. Eat man for life, baby. What it look like, what it be like, what it do. Back in here, another edition of the Bad Podcast, man. And we have a special guest, Brad. I'm about to slide off, like literally slide off the screen, man. So I'm gonna let y'all get it. Dr. Eva, pleasure to have you. I'm gonna try to be back before you jump off, but I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Hey, thanks, Dawain. First, Dr. Eva, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. Hello, guys. I'm Dr. Eva. I'm a board certified orthopedic surgeon. I'm a foot and ankle specialist, and I'm an exercise enthusiast. So I love everything about what you guys have going on. I'm also a co-founder of a women's shoe company called AMFI Shoes. So I'm excited to talk about shoes and fitness and to just get right into it with you.
Yeah. Can you spell your shoe company? Can you spell that for me? Because I'm gonna actually jot that down in my notes.
Yes, it's AMAFI Shoes, and our handle is amfi.shoes. We're on Instagram and Facebook. And I decided to start a women's shoe company because women's shoes are horrible and bad for your feet, and the ones that are cute are just horrible. So yeah, that's kind of the reason to start this shoe company. But I'm super passionate about shoes, super passionate about fitness, and just health and wellness altogether.
That's really cool. And I got a funny story that I have to share. And if my sister is listening to this podcast at some point, so right now we're live on our private Facebook page. And if somebody can tag my sister, her name is Carrie J, Karij, Jay. So I have a funny story about my sister, and you talk about this shoe company that you have. So my sister ran a full marathon, 26.2 2 miles in shoes that didn't fit her. 2 sizes too small. They were a men's shoe. They were too small. They were, not the most fashionable piece of attire that you would wear. But I remember her complaining, lost the toenails, all the things. So in this group, Eva, we have several people that are just beginning their fitness journey, several people that are just beginning their walking/running journey, and they're trying to dive deep on their running careers. What's a piece of advice of something they can look for in a good shoe that's conducive for running?
Yeah, well, I would start by saying that you can't run in any shoe, right? Some people, when they get started running, they just throw on whatever athletic shoe that they have or an athletic leisure shoe, right? And that's a complete no-no. If you're really going to be dedicated to the sport, then you really have to get the right equipment, right? So I would start, if you're a beginner, I would start by going to, honestly, a good running store because there's so much news on the internet. You can't just go and buy a shoe offline. There's so much thought that has to go into it. But we can kind of break it down, and I can kind of guide you through some of the features that are important in a good running shoe and kind of my thoughts on it. There's kind of 2 schools of thought. So I'm all about injury prevention so that you can stay running and stay walking. And then there's another school that kind of thinks about like minimalist shoes, right? I don't think minimalist shoes are great for injury prevention in the average runner who's just learning or, just kind of doing it recreationally. So I don't go for a minimalist shoe. I go for a shoe that is actually supportive. So that means that it has a decent amount of thickness in the sole. So if you're looking for a number, that can be like 20 to 30 millimeters. So like a Hoka shoe, the super thick sole shoes will have like 25 millimeters. But you don't want to go for something that's super low profile. It's just not going to give you enough cushioning when your heel is striking. It can cause problems like plantar fasciitis, stress fractures, all that stuff. So number one, go for a shoe that has a decent amount of sole support. And then something that's very important to me is the heel drop on the shoe. So there's a lot of like new brands that are starting that have zero drop. What does that mean? That means that the heel and the toe are at the exact same level. I think that for runners, you want to have a little bit of elevation in the heel. This does so many things. It takes some pressure off of your Achilles, so your Achilles is not doing so much work. And it really helps you like with the natural motion of running, right? You strike the heel and then you propel forward. So I think a shoe that has at least like a 8 millimeter heel drop is going to provide you with the most relief. I think 10 millimeters might sound aggressive, but it's like really the sweet spot if you're going like really long distances. So that's thickness, that's heel drop. And then you want to think about like, what is your arch doing in the shoe? A lot of us tend to pronate when we run, meaning that we kind of like collapse inward a little bit. And so when you're buying a shoe, you want to think about what the arch is doing. Is it neutral? Do you have kind of like a normal foot? So you can get a shoe that just has neutral support. If you pronate or you have a flatter foot, you want to go for a more stabilizing shoe that gives you more arch support. And then if you're the opposite, where you kind of roll out so that your ankle is maybe unstable, you want to go for a shoe that gives you more motion support. So they might build up the outside of the shoe so that it leans you in so that you're not rolling out. So I would say think about the arch, look at the amount of support, and then think about the heel drop. Those are the three factors that you want to consider like right on. That's a lot of talking.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, and that's why we're here. We want to know, what are these tangibles that are going to help us become better runners? Like, so we have 27,000 people in our private group, and out of those 27,000 people, I would say maybe 7,000 have completed 5K, 10K, and beyond. And so we need this information. And now I've always told our clients, if you don't know what kind of shoe you want, you don't know what kind of fit you need, go to a Fleet Feet, go to a Dick's, go to a specialist that will help you get into those shoes, because not one size or not one shoe fits all, right? I was looking at this thing the other day. It was a picture of LeBron James and Abdul Kareem Jabbar, right? And Jabbar played many moons ago, 70s, way back. And he had the flat Adidas shoes back way back when that was the style. Now we are in an era where we have the technology. That's what they had. They had the Converse boys, they had the Adidas boys. Now we have shoes that are going to help promote that experience when it comes to running. So not one shoe fits all. Do you have advice? So when it comes to ankle support, you were talking about ankle support and how to choose a shoe. So when it comes to ankle support, our runners start with a weight loss program. So some people have lost 100 pounds, 150 pounds, so on and so forth. Do you have advice for those that have lost a ton of weight, but their ankles, maybe they're not as strong as they should be? Do you have advice for ankle support beyond the shoes alone?
Yeah, so there are a few reasons that can kind of lead to the ankle feeling like unstable. And those particular types of folks, it may just be an issue of strengthening the stabilizers around the ankle. So if you haven't been very active, those muscles that stabilize the ankles become very weak, and that can make you feel like you're unstable, right? So I would start with that. So besides strengthening them by just walking, do dedicated ankle strengthening exercises that'll help build up, we call it dynamic stabilizers. And then there are other people that the stabilizers are strong, but the actual structures, like the ligaments around the ankles, have been compromised. Either you're just a loose person or you've had sprains in the past. in those situations, you kind of need some type of external support to provide you with the support that your ligaments aren't providing you. So you could run in like a low profile ankle sleeve or ankle brace. You could wear a shoe that comes up higher above the ankle that provides you with some stability. And then there are other shoes that are like a lower top, but they're made to kind of give you some stability. So you might notice some shoes where the outer part of the shoe is wider, and that will prevent you from rolling over. So I think we need to figure out what's causing the instability. Is it muscular or is it static? If it's static, then go for braces, better shoes, that sort of thing.
Yeah. What are some exercises that I can do to strengthen? I know a couple myself, but what are some exercises that you can give to our clients that are watching right now that will strengthen those ankle muscles and ligaments and everything?
So the muscles on the outer part of the ankle are the ones that contribute most to stability. So you can get a resistance band, tie it to any post, and then you want to work the outside. You want to work your foot going outside, right? That's called eversion. And you're really going to notice that the muscles go up and down the entire part of the outside of the leg. So you're going to notice those working. Just do that 3 sets, 20 times, a few times a day. And then you want to work out the muscles in the back of the leg. So your calf muscle is a major stabilizer. And there's another muscle back that runs towards the back of the ankle that stabilizes it. So going up on your toes, will go a long way also. So out and up is what you want to do to strengthen. Yeah.
I like that. I'm always trying to do the calf raises. Every workout I try to get the calf raises in there.
Yeah.
I used to do this a lot more than I do now, but I used to write do the alphabet with my ankles, A, B, C, all the way to Z. And just for the stretching and the flexibility component with the ankles,
Yeah, that's actually a good point I didn't mention, because if you've been sedentary for a while, you're going to be pretty stiff, and stiffness can lead to instability also because you don't have the motion to protect yourself. So I love the alphabet. Yeah, do that.
Yeah. So a lot of people ask me this question: treadmill versus road, and we're talking about ankle stability, ankle strength, just strength in general. Do you prefer one? Do you recommend one more than the other? Which one do you promote one more than the other? Maybe neither. What's your take on treadmill versus road?
Well, I am an outside person. Like I walk every single day. I think the sun gives you benefit. I think the fresh air gives you benefit. So I think if you can be outside, you should just go outside. But you got to just be careful of the terrain. So it depends on where you are in your journey. If you're just starting off, just go outside, walk on some flat ground, minimize hills or uneven terrain. I think that's the best thing, honestly. I think a treadmill, while it's a very safe, and predictable way to exercise and to walk and run, it's just not fun. And I think it's just better to be outside. That's just my own personal bias.
Yeah. No, I 120% agree, but I have a question. Where do you live, Eva?
Okay. So I live in the suburbs of Northern Virginia. So I have flat ground, and I have a beautiful park next to me. I will say that if there's a lot of uneven ground and you're prone to instability, a treadmill is the safest way to go. But that's kind of like extreme situations where you really can't manage like nature,
Yeah, right.
And if you're going to be like at a park or on a trail, that's when you maybe want to throw on, if you're walking, like a trail shoe that gives you a lot more support, or you might want to throw on an ankle brace. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, the reason I brought that up is because we just got a foot of snow of the white stuff dumped out. I'm in Western New York. So, but I will say that I agree that I even in the harsh elements, these temporary, I don't know, adversities, I guess you would say, when that happens, I try not to let it deter me or squander my spirits, because, man, it's good to get outside. It's good to become one with nature, the sun, everything about being outdoors. And especially if you're training for an actual event, like You're not going to go run the Boston Marathon by training on a treadmill every day. Now, will you have to do the treadmill from time to time? Yeah, sure, but not every run, because it's not relatable. You're not going to be running on the treadmill for 6-7 months training for an event that you're going to be on the ground running on the road. So yeah, that's a really important piece. I had something that
go ahead. Do you run in the snow? Like, do you run in the snow? Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I all the events that I've trained for in the past, actually not all of them, but most of them, they are in like March, April, May. So up here, I mean, I'm in the thick and the thin of the winter, and I am forced to get out and get those long miles, because I have tried. So my one and only full marathon was in Buffalo in May, and I did very little training outside, and I was on that treadmill for 20 miles, 21 miles, 22 miles. And let me tell you, you said boring. Well, guess what? I watched the entire series of Pirates of the Caribbean one time, and it gets very old real quick. But I wanted to allude to one of the things that you said about trail running versus road running. Now, I may know the difference between the two. You may know the difference between the two, but a lot of the people that may watch this have no idea the difference between how I pick shoes for trail running, how I pick shoes for road running, how I pick shoes for everyday life, how I pick shoes. Any element of life, we have to pick a different pair of shoes because they offer different tangibles, right? So let's talk about the difference in trail running shoes versus road running shoes real quick.
Yeah. Well, I would say the issues that you are going to combat with the trail is that, like I said, the terrain is uneven. You might deal with like water, so puddles and that sort of thing. And then you want to think about traction. So those aren't really as big of a deal if you're running on a road. So when I think of, so I have two pair of shoes that I go out with, my trail shoes and my regular walking running shoes. My trail shoes are water resistant. Because I like to like get all into it. Like I jump into puddles, like, so that's important. You want to keep your feet nice and dry and healthy. Number two, they have traction and rubber soles that my walking and road shoes don't have, so that I'm not slipping if it's muddy. And then I just lost my thought. What was the first one that I said? What's the first thing I said?
You said waterproof, rubber soles, traction. Yeah.
Oh, and then they're higher top, so they're not a low top shoe, so that the stability issue. So you want to get something that's more stabilizing. So that's kind of my approach to that.
Yeah, I never really understood the difference going back a handful of years until my brother walked the Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to Canada about 5 or 6 years ago now. And he had a pair of trail shoes, and I never really understood the difference between the two. But, now that you're talking about it and looking back, they were a little bit higher on the tops because you're going to hit those bumps in the road. And you have to have that support where you can't be rolling an ankle out on trail. So this has been incredibly valuable, and I do want to wrap this up. We keep it anywhere from 25 to 20 minutes, but I do want to ask one more question, and I think this is an important one because a lot of the people in this group have experienced some sort of injury, some sort of setback, one of those things. My first piece of advice is go and see your primary physician. And if it's one of those in between injuries, they're not always forced to go see their physician. If I sustained an injury, what's the best way for me to rebound, get back in the game?
Yeah. So I think first you have to acknowledge when you're really injured and you have to take a break. So runners, what are you prone to? You're prone to getting stress fractures in the metatarsals. That's something you can't run or work through. You're prone to Achilles tendonitis problems. That's something that you shouldn't work through. So when you're fully recovered, then you have to just find a program that graduates you slowly back to running and not be discouraged, and know that these things heal and that they end. And in the meantime, you can walk, you can weight train, you can do other things to stay strong. But listen to your body. If you're seeing red flags, swelling that's persisting, redness that's persisting, then that's when you should go and see someone. But yeah, get back to it. It's a journey. Like, you're going to have ups and downs. And then one thing I wanted to mention that I think is so important for runners to prevent injuries is to know when to change out your shoes. I walk like 3 to 5 miles a day. And so you want to change out your shoes every 400-ish miles. So that could be 3 to 4 months if you're walking or running 5, 10, if you're doing like really high mileage, you may have to change your shoes 3 times a year. So that's so, so important. And I even forget to do that. And how do I know is when I start feeling pain in my Achilles. I'm like, oh, my heel drop is gone. So just look for those signs and try and be cognizant of how many miles you have on your shoes.
Man, that's amazing. And just to go back to the beginning of my running career, I'll never forget this. So I did the Pittsburgh half marathon in 2018, and I wore a pair of worn out Nikes, no support, no insole. I mean, they were worn down. And I remember thinking that I was running so fast. And then my mother took a video of me and I was barely moving. And I do remember coming out of that race with so much pain in my feet and in my toes and in my ankles and in my hips. And that was the day that I decided if I'm ever going to run long distances, I got to get me some shoes. I got to get me some shoes. But, hey, Eva, this has been extremely valuable. And I really appreciate all the time that you spent with us today. Dawain always likes to wrap up our podcast with a special piece. And then this will wrap us up.
Yeah,
Great.
so I was listening. Everybody in E2M knows that I be multitasking, got another meeting going on and the other ear and everything. But really good information. I just have to throw this out here real quick. I have an uncle. His name is Robert Earl Jr. And my dad always said that he was the best athlete ever. But he never made it anywhere because his shoes were always too small and his feet hurt. So, and there may be something to that, there may be something to that because they say if he had his shoes on, you can outrun him. He take those shoes off, and nobody can outrun him. Shoes on, he can outjump you. He can't outjump you. He take his shoes off, he can dunk everything.
Wow.
So, I think there's some truth to that, and I think you proved that today. So, as we get into this last segment, we have a segment we call "Do You Know or Did You Know?" I know it's a little surprise to you. This is a segment where we ask you to share something that maybe you hadn't said publicly, or maybe a story, or just something that people don't know about you, or they couldn't read on your bio or didn't see on your Instagram. Do you know or did you know about Dr. Eva? I'm going to do a little clip. It's really short, so be thinking while I do this clip.
Lord. Okay.
You got it. It's a short clip, though. I'm going to warn you, so be thinking. All right, the clip is over. So, for those that don't know, I'm gonna give you a little bit more time. The reason why we call this the "Do You Know or Did You Know" segment, our boss, Jeff Witherspoon, he likes to quote the Muffin Man when he's telling different facts during his lives, and he'd be like, "Do you know?" And so we adopted that to be a segment in our show. So now, Dr. Eva, tell us, what is a "Do You Know or Did You Know" thing about you?
Okay, so right now I'm like a super exercise gym rat crazy person. But when I was younger, I was so clumsy and klutzy and uncoordinated. Like there was nothing remotely athletic about me. I was so lanky and didn't control my body. So I would say you wouldn't know that about me, like my entire journey, unless you knew me when I was super young. But it's a journey. I was a mess when I was younger. Yeah, super uncoordinated, falling all the time.
That is a really good one. I like that. I like the late bloomer, as we call them.
Yes, late bloomer.
Awesome. Well, listen, we appreciate you taking time out. We know our run folks are going to enjoy this episode. Not just them, just any athlete, just learning. We try to bring education to our followers, to our listeners, to our members, and we definitely appreciate that. And we'd love to have you back. And maybe even we have a conference in August. Maybe even get you to come to that. Like
I'm down. Let me know.
All the things we want to do it. So, all right, y'all. So, all right, B. Anything you want to say in closing?
Hey, it all begins with that one step, and don't let that one step be without the proper footwear.
There you go. Till next time, y'all.
Take care, guys.